On January 20th, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14172, naming the body of water off of Southwest Florida the Gulf of America. Now we're bringing the Gulf of America right to your door. If you're looking to show your patriotism and rep the Gulf of America, go on madeInswiffle.com to get your Gulf of America gear. Hats for $15, shirts for $20, and koozies are just $5. It's simple, affordable, and made right here in America. MadeInswiffle.com. Get all your Gulf of America gear shipped right to your door anywhere in the USA. On today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides, more countries are folding under Trump's tariff policies. The media is twisting Dave Portnoy's words to push their agenda. Chicago wants you to just hand your car keys over to criminals. Antifa protests, shocking new studies about the flu vaccine, and a whistleblower conspiracy that's raising a lot of questions. All that and much more coming up on today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides, starting now.
The moment is here. This is our moment.
America, we are back, baby. Welcome to another episode of America Unfiltered with James Pascalides. This is episode 40. I want to start today's episode a little different. We usually just dive right into our first topic, but today we're going to talk a lot about tariffs. So I want to start off with this video I found on X. It is called Tariff 101. It basically explains tariffs to everybody in a way that's very simple and effective.
It's important to remember that tariffs aren't just tools for trade wars. They're a key part of economic independence. Before income tax was introduced in 1913, tariffs were the main source of revenue for the U.S. government. This allowed the country to fund itself and grow without directly taxing citizens. Tariffs protect American workers and industries from being undercut by low-cost, lower-quality foreign goods, allowing American businesses to compete and thrive. By levying tariffs, we maintain jobs and encourage domestic production, both crucial for national security and prosperity. Tariffs also help the U.S. negotiate better trade deals, pushing other countries to lower their trade barriers in exchange. So, who would oppose tariffs? Globalists, corrupt politicians, and crooked elites whose only care is wealth and power. They take advantage of cheap labor and lax regulations abroad. They take advantage of you. Enough is enough. Tariffs are about valuing our workers, our consumers, and our nation. Let's keep jobs in America and use tariffs the way our forefathers did, to protect our economy and our future. We need strong economic policies. We need tariffs, not taxes. We need to put America first and begin a new golden age.
That video was made by Dilly Meme Team, as you saw. I give them a lot of credit for the explanation and the animations on the video. Excellent video. I think it explains tariffs very well in an effective way. A lot of viewers like to see things by video, things like that, so it's great for visual learners and people of that nature. But I do want to just dive right into things today. I want to talk about tariffs to start off the day. There's a lot going on with tariffs around the world. You guys know I love tariffs. I've talked about them a ton. I think tariffs are the future of this country. Tariffs are the way to eliminate our debt, make better fair trade agreements around the world, and bring manufacturing back to the United States. I want to talk about some of the countries who are already in contact with Donald Trump to either have more fair trade agreements or to try and eliminate tariffs as a whole. Over 50 countries so far as of this weekend and today have called Donald Trump to work out more trade agreements. Donald Trump says he is taking the calls one by one, trying to make peaceful agreements with these countries. But some of the bigger ones, countries like Japan, Vietnam, Taiwan, Mexico, EU, China, a lot of them, they're waking up to the reality that these aren't just, threats by Donald Trump. It's not just all talk. This is real. We are sick and tired of not being able to sell our products in your countries while you're selling your products in our countries. We're sick of the unfair trade agreements. We're sick of the manufacturing, how it's all moved over to your countries. And beyond that, it's slave labor and child labor for the most part. When people are talking about how Nike and Apple and companies like this manufacture in China, in Vietnam and other countries like that, they're using sweatshop labor, they're using child labor, they're using slave labor. So moving manufacturing back to the United States supports that as well. It supports healthy manufacturing. It tries to eliminate the industry of slave and child labor that exists when it comes to manufacturing American goods. Nike is one of the biggest proponents in this, and so is Apple. They even have suicide nets around the warehouses or around the factories where iPhones are built in China. That's how bad they are. So I really think that this is not only a strategic move financially, but morally, it's a great move for the United States as well. And I find it odd that liberals right now are the ones arguing against this. Liberals forever have said that, conservatives are the ones of corporate greed and that nature. But we're trying to bring manufacturing back to the United States. We're trying to do all the things that liberals at one point were really fighting for, and now they're just fighting against because it's what Donald Trump wants. And Donald Trump's a liberal. That's why he wants the things that liberals once wanted. Liberals have just gotten so delusioned that they've strayed off the path. If liberals just stayed with the same vision that they've had in the past, they would align perfectly with Donald Trump now. It's how liberals have always talked in the past because Donald Trump is a liberal. The cabinet in the White House right now is full of liberals who are saying they identify as conservatives, but in reality, it's just because the Liberal Party has gone way too far left. But Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, RFK, all liberals of 5-10 years ago. So I think it's very ridiculous how left and how far the Liberal Party has really gotten. But to get back on the topic of tariffs for a second, all these countries, they're now calling Donald Trump, trying to negotiate better deals. So Vietnam was one of the bigger ones. Vietnam called Trump to try and negotiate a zero-tariff proposal. The U.S. rejected it, saying that it's going to be a gateway for them to sell Chinese products who are trying to dodge tariffs going into the United States, because China is one of the bigger tariff wars we have going on right now. I'll get to that next in a second. But so Vietnam and the United States are still talking. It doesn't look like there will be any zero tariffs on that unless they can come to some agreement when it comes to counterfeit goods and when it comes to, like I said, Chinese products going through Vietnam to avoid the Chinese tariffs. I think that countries trying to avoid the tariff demand or just ignoring it as a whole are not only putting themselves at a disadvantage for the future with the United States, with future trade agreements, and with future alliances, but they are not putting their citizens first when it comes to countries like Canada. Their citizens are the ones who are going to suffer when they're going into trade wars with the United States. We are 78% of their exports, I think. We completely subsidize the country of Canada, and if they continue a tariff war and a trade war with the United States, they will indefinitely lose, along with many other countries whose citizens would suffer way more than the government would suffer. So I think a lot of these countries are going to have their citizens calling on the governments to, people like to say bow down to Trump. I don't like to use that term because I don't think it's really bowing down. I think it's just being mutually professional. Currently, the United States has been taken advantage of in trade for decades and decades, and it's time we're mutually respectful on trade. And why is Japan allowed to sell their cars in our country, but we can't sell them in theirs? Why is China allowed to sell their tech in our country, but we can't sell ours in theirs? It makes no sense. These trade agreements are unfair. We're being ripped off. Our products are not able to be sold in these countries, which was the point of tariffs and trade in the first place. So I really hope that Donald Trump is able to negotiate these deals with these countries fast. I'll get to why I want it to happen fast pretty soon. It's starting to affect the stock market. But before we get to the stock market, I do want to talk about China a little bit. So Trump put a Truth Social post and an X post up about tariffs and about China. But he put a notice on China. China put a 34% tariff on U.S. American goods. He said if you don't drop your 34% tariff or eliminate it, you will face a 105% tariff on all your products. So this is classic art of the deal, everything Trump does when it comes to negotiating. Trump does not back down. Trump is willing to stand up to China, stand up to these countries who are acting unfairly in trade. China specifically has always acted unfairly in trade. None of our products are really sold in China, comparable to how their products pour into our markets. They love to use our markets and our, economic base to sell their products. But why are we not allowed to sell our cars, our technology in China? It's completely ripping us off. It's unfair to the American taxpayer, to the American trade system, to everything that the trade system was built on as a whole. So this, Trump is calling on them to have remove these by April 8th, which is tomorrow. So I will update you guys on if there's any more information on that. I bet we'll really know more information on the 9th. So maybe we'll get an update on that Wednesday. But tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have an update on everything happening with China. I really think that there's a lot of potential good that the Trump administration is talking about doing too when it comes to different things with the market, with everything after the market resets with tariffs. He's talking about possibly eliminating capital gains tax. So in 2025 right now, they're looking to eliminate capital gains tax, which would be the tax you pay on profits you take from the stock market, crypto market, things like that. This would be huge for investors. It would drive more investing, and there would be ways to make up these taxes with tariffs is the plan. I do want to get into the stock market a little more, like I was saying. So stock market is almost anything anybody's talking about today. It has been diving down a good bit over the last 3 days. Over the last 3 days, people are seeing, some investors up to 20% drops in their net worth. One of the big things is if you do not sell, you do not lose anything. These markets will bounce back. Trump's plan is a long-term plan. Trump ran on the idea that the markets would be extremely volatile after the election because of these tariffs. He knew that the tariffs weren't something that he was just going to slap down and they would stay like that forever. He knew he was going to put down these tariffs. Countries were going to immediately come crawling to him, calling him, saying, we want better deals on these tariffs because these tariffs are pretty high, which is exactly what Trump wanted. And then he's going to negotiate more fair trade deals, bring manufacturing back to the United States where it needs to be while still outsourcing the rest of the manufacturing. And we're going to have more fair trade deals, and the stock market will recover and thrive and boom from there. So as low as it fell, it would rise a lot higher is his plan. And this is something that I believe in, Charlie Kirk believes in, a lot of other economists around the country believe in as well. I think Trump is an extremely smart businessman and one of the best negotiators we've ever seen. Definitely the best negotiator we've ever had in the White House. So while the market is very volatile right now, it's not something I'm that worried about. And I want to use the opportunity to highlight some of the things the media loves to misrepresent. I talk a lot on my show about the media misrepresenting and lying about different things. You're just clipping things. But one of the things they're doing right now is, so Dave Portnoy, he's a very big figure. He's the founder of Barstool Sports. He's fairly big in the political scene as well. You'll see him on Fox News. He'll do his Davey Politics videos on X as well. But Dave Portnoy in his Davey Day Trader Global, or on a video he posted on X, basically was talking about how he was down $7 million in the stock market. I think it was on Friday, maybe it was Thursday. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. Then this morning, in his Davey Day Trader Global live stream, he talks about how the media over the weekend has been misrepresenting everything he's saying that Dave Portnoy is now saying he's against MAGA, against Donald Trump. He wishes he didn't vote for him, but that's not what he said at all. All he said was that he's down in the stock market a little bit. And he went on to even clarify today that, yeah, I wouldn't have changed my vote. This isn't something that makes it that big of a difference. You only really lose money if you sell. He agrees that the market's going to go back up. He understands the tariff plan with Trump. And I encourage everyone to go watch his Davey Day Trader live streams. But yeah, he talks a lot about how the media misrepresents things. He says Dave Portnoy hates the mass media more than a lot of people because of the target they've put on his back. I think it's extremely unfair the way the mass media has targeted him because he's on the right wing. If he was on the left wing, there's no way it would have happened. But yeah, as the stock market has got more volatile, voices like Dave Portnoy are stepping up. So it's when you see media headlines, things like that, it's always great to do your own research, because as we know, mass media lies. A lot of times it's just propaganda and things like that happening. I do want to pop up another video for you guys. This video is of the Treasury Secretary talking about Trump's tariff plans a little bit as well.
The people who are hoping that yesterday's move will lead to a demonstrably brighter future within 4 years, is it your sincere prediction that within 4 years we'll say, actually, that kind of worked?
I believe that it's going to work, and I know that what we were doing wasn't working.
Yes.
So I think we have to try this, and I have a high confidence ratio it's going to work. And I have a very high confidence ratio. The good news is we have President Trump's previous term when everyone said none of this was going to work. Oh, yeah. The China tariffs are going to do this. They're going to cause inflation. They didn't. This is going to happen to working class. It's going to be bad for working class Americans. Well, guess what? Working class Americans, the hourly workers did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of households, their net worth increased faster than the top 10% of households. And look, I'm not happy with what's going on in the market today, but the distribution of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills. They rent their homes. They have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief. That I was struck by the statistic from last year.
That's the message right there. Just as a bystander, I'm like, wow, okay.
I'm sure most of my viewers who watch me have watched Tucker Carlson, but I urge all my viewers to continue to watch his show. He always has guests on that are very interesting, talks about topics like this, and he's not afraid to talk about the things that the media doesn't love to touch all the time. But yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting take on the tariffs on the previous time Trump implemented tariffs in his first term, and on just the current financial situation of, U.S. taxpayers and U.S. citizens. It's pretty alarming that over 50% of Americans have a negative net worth. It's something that I think, we need the Trump economy to really fix. And I think it's something that as tariffs kick in, we bring American manufacturing back to the United States, and the stock market resets. I think it's something that we'll definitely see happen. We'll see a lot more people get out of debt and be in better financial situations the same way they were under Trump's first term. I want to get into some of our other topics of the day. So I want to move into something that happened on a college campus. Antifa protest actually decided to destroy a Turning Point USA booth on a college campus just because they hate conservative ideas and because they're destructful. So if you don't know who Antifa is, they are a reckless, I almost want to say terrorist organization in the United States. They're liable for a lot of the damage during key protests like BLM and things like that, and in liberal cities. And I'm going to play this video for you guys. Turning Point USA is Charlie Kirk's company that he started and movement that he started to try and bring younger conservatives more empowerment, in college, in school, and things like that. But I'm going to play this video for you guys of Antifa destroying Charlie Kirk's booth on a college campus. It is terrible to watch.
Watch out! Watch out! Hey, Soja, hey, Jackson, soda. Get back! Come on, please, get in there. Get in there.
terrible they were allowed to do this. I want to know why those officers just stood by and did nothing as they did this. I understand being, the idea of being outnumbered 2 to whatever, but the fact that they did nothing at all is fairly alarming to me. I know this was in a liberal state. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe they were just campus security or police. I'm not 100% certain, but very alarming to me how little those police did. And just disgusting acts by Antifa, by liberals, by these hate groups who like to say conservatives are the party of hate. But in reality, that was a very peaceful gathering, that Turning Point USA had a permit for. They had a tent where they were just talking to young conservatives on the campus, just empowering young conservatives, and talking to liberals as well. It was an open mic for anybody. But Antifa took that as an invitation to come and destroy the setup, take the tent away, destroy the banners, assault people there. I blame it on parents. I blame it on all those kids' parents. They were not disciplined as children. They probably had a lack of either love or support. They didn't either have a effective father figure or a father figure in the home. That's one of the biggest indicators of misbehavior when it comes to children in adult life, is if they had a good father figure in the home. One of the most important statistics. I do want to go on to some of our next topics, and again, this one is almost as ridiculous as that one, if not more, especially when you're in my home state of Florida and it's the opposite of things like this. But I'm going to pop up a video for you guys of Chicago officials telling you what to do when criminals break into your home.
The Chicago Police Department is now currently under fire for telling citizens to leave their car keys at their front door to avoid thieves.
To prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door, because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns, they're real guns. They're loaded.
The Chicago Police Department is now currently under fire online for telling Chicago citizens to leave their car keys at their front door to avoid interacting with car thieves. The police claim that the thieves only want your car and that attempting to confront them might not end well. These statements from the Chicago Police Department has garnered controversy from commenters online. Commenters claim that they are appalled by the police telling citizens to allow themselves to be victims of crimes and that this cop should be a security guard at Walmart. But what do you think about these statements from the Chicago Police Department? Do you agree with the commenters about the cop? Comment your opinion down below.
Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when a patriot is in charge. So I'm going to go from the Chicago mayor, over to Sheriff Grady Judd down in Polk County, Florida. I'm going to show you 2 videos of him where he talks about how to handle, looters when it comes to your house and personal property. So one of my favorite people, I'm going to show you a video or 2 videos of Grady Judd.
Right to be safe in their homes. They have a right for their property to be safe, even when part of their home may be torn away. And these looters, that's unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable. I would highly suggest that if a looter breaks into your home, comes into your home while you're there to steal stuff, that you take your gun and you shoot him. You shoot him so that he looks like grated cheese. Because you know what? That's one looter that won't break into anyone else's home and take advantage of them when they're the most vulnerable and the most weak.
Sheriff, you're not allowed to use deadly force for a property crime. Why do you say he would have been justified in killing him?
First off, he tried a carjacking with a lady. And then he was doing a burglary of a vehicle. And he was in the string of a group of felonies at the time. When you start trying to carjack somebody's car at a gas station, you're subject to get shot, and shot a lot.
Did he have a weapon?
She doesn't have to have a weapon, brother. You can carjack with just pure violence and force.
You don't think that's a dangerous message you're putting out?
That is an absolute correct message I'm putting out to Polk County citizens. You try to break into somebody's car and steal it while they're there with it, that's called armed carjacking.
Some attorneys would disagree with you, but you're the sheriff, so.
If you come to this county and if you use extreme violence to try to carjack somebody from their car, if you get shot, that's on you.
I love this state. This is the land of opportunity and freedom. It's insane to me that other states don't operate this way, that they allow their citizens to be subject to violent carjackings, assaults, things of these, and don't allow them to arm themselves and defend themselves. I personally know in Florida, if someone was to break into my house, try and steal my car, try and harm my life, that not only would they be shot, but yeah, it'd be hard to give them an open casket funeral. There'd be so many bullets in them. That's the beauty of Florida. You can absolutely unload your clip on someone trying to harm your life, harm your family, harm your children. And when they break into your house, like Grady Judd said, it's open season. Make them look like shredded cheese. I think that's an excellent message from the sheriff, because it goes right the same way non-criminals, regular citizens like you and me see this, criminals see that too. Puts a little scare into them as well, as they should be. People shouldn't think that it's a free market to break into people's houses and nothing's going to happen to them. You break into houses, you try stealing cars, you are going to get shot. The way Chicago is doing things is terrible. Liberal-run cities are running themselves into the ground. It's been happening time and time again. On January 20th, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14172, naming the body of water off of Southwest Florida the Gulf of America. Now we're bringing the Gulf of America right to your door. If you're looking to show your patriotism and rep the Gulf of America, go on maidenswiffle.com to get your Gulf of America gear. Hats for $15, shirts for $20, and koozies are just $5. It's simple, affordable, and made right here in America. Maidenswiffle.com. Get all your Gulf of America gear shipped right to your door anywhere in the USA. But Chicago, the fact that they're just saying, yeah, hand your car keys over to the criminals. Just leave them right at the front door, so when they break in, it's easier for them. Let's make it easier on our criminals. Let's make it as easy as possible. Why aren't they saying, hey, pop up a Ring camera and keep an AR-15 next to your bed? That's a way more effective method to defend your house and defend your car. You see someone trying to break in your door at 2 in the morning, either the rack of a 12 gauge or the sound of an AR-15 bullet whizzing past their head as you shoot a warning shot to them is going to let them know to F off really fast. It's an extremely effective method. It's way more effective than any other method possible. If you could find me a better deterrent to robbers than the rack of a 12 gauge shotgun or an AR-15 bullet whipping past their head, let me know. I would love to hear it. I want to go on to one of our next topics. We're going to play another video for you guys. This is one of my favorite videos, but it just goes to show what happens when you try and organize to hurt the United States. So a group of Houthis organized to try and hit the United States and hit hard. Trump bombed the hell out of them, and I love it. I love when he posts the videos. It's exciting. It sends a message to them, sends a message to other terrorist groups and countries, lets them know not to mess with us, and it feels patriotic to watch. So I'm going to pop this video up for you guys of us bombing the Houthis. That video definitely deserves 5 big booms. So, real quick.
5 big booms. Boom! 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 Boom!
We only have a couple topics left today. We're going to dive right on into them. Our second to last topic is a new Cleveland study is showing that the flu vaccine this year, if you got it, you have a 27% higher chance of getting the flu than anyone else who didn't get the vaccine. So this just goes to show the continued lack of trust that people have in these vaccine companies. A lot of them are rushed. They're for profit. They need to be held accountable. The fact that vaccine companies are immune to accountability is a crazy thing. I don't think that's not right. They shouldn't be able to be injecting our bodies with something and then be immune to being sued to the effects that they give us if something goes wrong due to lack of studies or lying about studies or whatever the case may be. So if you did get the flu vaccine this year, I am very sorry for that information. I personally did not. I don't think a lot of conservatives did. I don't think a lot of conservatives trust vaccines the same way they used to post-COVID. I do want to get into our last topic. This is an interesting one and a crazy one, and if there's more developments on it, I'll definitely keep you updated. But the whistleblower from OpenAI who was found dead, that they ruled a suicide with a gunshot wound to the head, his parents didn't believe it, and his parents got their own autopsy, and guess what? There was 2 bullet wounds in his head, not just 1. So it was clearly not a suicide. This was clearly trying to be hidden by someone higher up who was able to get a fake autopsy that showed that there was only 1 bullet wound, that said it was a suicide. There's definitely a lot of corruption on many levels going on here. But the fact that someone is whistleblowing on the way that OpenAI trains their AI models and then gets shot twice in the back of the head and it's called a suicide and it's not talked about in the mainstream media is very alarming. I urge everyone to start talking about this on social medias, to your friends, to your family, at your dinner table tonight, whatever it is. But talking about these things is important. It leads to answers when we continuously push for them and talk about these things. I'm James Pascalides. This has been episode 40 of America Unfiltered. I'm signing off today. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.